In my first garage renovation video, you saw how I went from this, a crowded garage with two 8-foot wide doors, ceiling mounted openers, and a steel support post or Lally column right in the middle, to this, a wide open space without a column and a massive single 17.5-foot entry, giving me much better access to the garage and workspace. In this video, you'll see how the new garage door goes in, and I'll explain some extra options that are available to really customize the space. Hi, I'm Mike, and my channel is Mike Fixed It. My two-car garage had a Lally column, or concrete-filled steel support post, right in the middle. I contacted a company called Lollygon to remove the post, and after learning more about their process, the project kind of blossomed. Rather than replace the structural support beams, they reinforced them with steel.
They're going to take a C-channel and they're going to mount it onto this side of the beam, and over here they're going to attach a steel plate that spans the entire length of the beam. They're going to bolt those together, and once bolted together, that will give the entire expanse the distributed weight so they can remove the Lally column.
In addition to reinforcing my main beam and removing the support column, they also reinforced my garage door headers and removed the center door divider, opening up the garage entry and making the workspace much more flexible and accessible. I'm working with a local residential and commercial door installation company called Descar Doors, located in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Descar removed my existing doors and my openers before the structural work began, and returned right after it was finished to frame and trim out the modified opening, and to install my new door and opener. I was given lots of options, many of which I didn't know existed, and I'm going to tell you more about them so you know for your own garage project. The first order of business is cleaning up the rough edges left from the structural team and framing out the opening with new lumber so you have a solid, square header and jambs on which to mount the doors. Want some word trivia? I always had a tough time with the word jam, as in door jamb. Why call it that if you don't want the door to jam? Well, jam comes from the French word jambe, meaning leg. So the door jamb is simply the side legs that define the width of the doorway and support the door hardware. One of the choices I was offered was whether to keep the angled corners or open the corners up. I chose the more contemporary squared corners, which are in character with my modern style house. Here's a tip. See those discarded corners? If you have refuse like this, it is perfect to take to the home center or paint store for a color match, if painting is going to be a part of your project. Be careful, my painted stucco corners had staples and sharp mesh poking out of the back. I cleaned it up with a needle nose plier for my safety and for the safety of others. As you'll see later, my paint was matched perfectly. One of the biggest choices I had to make was whether I wanted to replace my traditional old-school side-mounted extension springs or install a torsion spring system, which mounts across the front of the entry. By mounting the spring in the front, it cleans up the ceiling and is virtually invisible when the door is in its raised position. The torsion spring system is comprised of a long hollow bar called the torsion tube, and a spring or springs which are affixed at one end to the framing via a bracket called the center bearing plate, and to the torsion bar by clamps called torsion spring cones. The cable drums are mounted at the ends, which are wrapped with the cable that supports the door. No matter what kind of spring system you choose, the purpose of the springs are to relieve the weight of the door, so you or your opener doesn't have to work so hard opening and closing it. The more the door closes, the more the springs provide torque to offset the door's weight. While single spring torsion systems are available, having the double spring, which is recommended for all doors over 10 feet wide, also provides added protection in case one of the springs breaks, which could lead to your door crashing down. The next choice I was presented was the height that the raised door tracks could go. Since this was a custom installation, I learned that it was possible to make the raised door higher or closer to the ceiling when the door is in the up position. If you're planning to use the space above your raised garage doors for storage, then you might not want to go higher. But for me, having the door higher when up gives me more clearance when I'm doing woodworking projects and moving large materials. Or since I videotape my projects, it allows me more height for lighting and camera angles. If ceiling height is important to you on your project, ask your contractor if going higher with the raised door is an option. Here's a tip. There's no time like framing to fill gaps and repair imperfections. For your project, have a can of expanding insulating foam on hand. Make sure it's the type for doors and windows, which does not expand that much. Some of the foam in cans can expand to many times its original size, which can actually push framing out of place and jam your windows and doors shut. For trim, we are using an engineered product, Boral True Exterior. My old wooden trim was a mess, softened by years of weather exposure and scarred by countless car bumper encounters. The Boral trim is made from fly ash, a waste product from burning coal, and a blend of polymers. It's moisture and termite impervious and suitable for ground contact, so it should last a long time. The Boral boards have a smooth side and a simulated wood grain side. I was given the choice of which side I wanted to face out, and I chose the wood grain side to match the majority of my house trim. Here's a sneak peek forward of how it looks before and after paint. If you are using a similar product, you can ask your contractor if you have a preference. The door I selected is a General Advantage garage door, which is a triple-layer insulated steel door that has a 6.7 R value. The higher the number, the better the insulation. I never realized how uninsulated the front of my garage was until the drywall came off. Before closing up the walls, when the door installation is finished, I will insulate the open stud bays and caulk all open joints before drywalling to help the doors do their job and stabilize temperature changes in the garage no matter what the season. New doors arrive packed as separate panels. It was fun watching the unpacking and seeing all of the hardware go on. I was surprised how floppy the panels were, but at 17.5 feet wide, I should have expected some flex. Once the panels were fitted with these reinforcing beams, however, they became much more rigid. If it weren't for the reinforcing beams, the doors would sag like a smile in the up position and most likely pull itself inward on the track with unpredictable results. Here's an aside. I can't stress enough how glad I was to have emptied out my garage before doing the structural renovation and the door installation. Not only is it easier and safer for your contractors to work, it's inevitable that the space and your belongings are going to get dirty. So do yourself a favor and start cleaning your space now if you think there's a renovation or door replacement in your future. Even if you don't have a project planned, cleaning the garage will always get you bonus points with your spouse and will make you happy too. As the door hardware went on, the door panels were loosely placed in the first section of track, where they were then joined together. With the door in place, the horizontal sections of track were attached and the support hangers were secured to the ceiling joists. If you are installing a wall-mounted garage door opener, then you have a choice what side of the door on which to mount the opener. My old openers hung from the ceiling, and one of them was directly under a bedroom. When the doors opened, you could feel the vibrations and hear the sound being transmitted to the rooms upstairs. Since I only have one opener now, for the single door, I chose to mount the opener on the far wall, which only has roof above it and not living space. Not only is the new door and opener smoother and more quiet, but there is not a trace of vibration being transmitted to the upper rooms. In fact, the new setup is so quiet that the dogs don't even bark when someone opens the garage anymore. Speaking of openers, there are also some features which I didn't know existed until this project. The LiftMaster opener I picked has a battery backup, which will keep the garage door working in a power outage up to 5 days. The LiftMaster opener has lots more cool features, including an automatic deadbolt and an app that gives you remote access. I'm really happy with the quality of the work, the new parts, and how everything came together. And I love how flexible and accessible this renovation made my garage. In upcoming videos, I'll be reviewing the LiftMaster wall mount garage door opener and sharing tips and ideas as I finish the renovation and customize the space. I'm Mike, the channel is Mike Fixed It. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and for everybody, I look forward to reading your comments and questions in the space below. Thank you for watching, be good, be well, and be safe, and I'll talk to you very, very soon.
I fixed it.